is Faith de Los Santos from BSMLS 1E. And today, together with my group mates, we will present to you our very own caricature that is titled Money Talks. Our caricature talks about the reality of how money today overweight the truths of those innocent people, especially those who are unprivileged. It's unfortunate to say that when it comes to law, injustice is very evident. So, all of these are our core in making our caricature using various of symbols. So, we choose this topic because it also portrays the hidden reality when it comes to law. And yeah, there are still people who find a hole to escape when it comes to law up until today, especially to those people who have money to show. So I think we Filipinos should be aware of it because everyone should be equal. It doesn't matter who or what they are.
With its jaws wide open, the crocodile symbolizes political corruption in the Philippines and the widespread corruption that has become ingrained in the country's political system. The corrupt system's greedy appetite and sly gaze illustrates how it preys on the well-being of every Filipino. The second details highlight the depth and complexity of the issue, as well as highlighting the necessity of proactive awareness and cooperation in addressing and resolving the challenges caused by political corruption. Corrupt politicians as crocodiles in cartoons is the symbolism it conveys regarding their predatory and insatiable nature. Just like crocodiles lurk beneath the surface, waiting to prey on unsuspecting victims, corrupt politicians often operate in the shadows, exploiting their positions of power for personal gain at the expense of public good.
As we can see in the image, we can observe that money weighs more than a normal Filipino citizen. This image depicts how influential and powerful money can be. Nowadays, money can be considered an essential thing and it serves a crucial role in our lives. But a lot of Filipinos, especially the corrupt ones, abuse this piece of paper to the point that they consider it as power. In relation to our justice system, injustice and equity can be observed. Also, in the legal system, money symbolizes power or authority. We cannot deny the fact that money has a great influence in our legal system. We cannot deny the fact that money has a great influence in our legal system, as money has the power to turn tables, make new stories, and give advantage to those the people who possess it. Money is like a blindfold. It has the ability to turn corrupt authorities into blind ones and lose their consciousness of what is right or wrong. So instead of being a voice for those normal Filipino citizens, especially the unprivileged ones, they turn a blind eye to justice and equality just to gain wealth.
The scale, it represents the law, injustice, and symbolizing the imbalance of the legal system. The scale portrays how wealth is more important than the people. This imbalance suggested that justice is not being served equally. The cartoonist is portraying the idea of unfairness, systemic discrimination, and corruption to the people who have power. By visually representing the disparity in scale, the cartoonist can effectively convey the message of injustice and the need of equitable solutions or change.
In this caricature, we can see Juan Dela Cruz being weighted against the money. Juan de la Cruz represents the unprivileged Filipino people deprived from getting equal rights. It shows that money weighs more when it comes to justice, and those who are unprivileged will always thirst for law equality.
Juan de la Cruz is often used as a personification of the common Filipino citizens in editorial cartooning. Juan's stoic expression reflects the resilience of the oppressed, while the ominous shadow cast by the politician underscores the pervasive influence of corruption. This visual narrative highlights a common demand for accountability and transparency in government by shedding light on the oppressive forces hindering the pursuit of justice and equality. The scale of justice, once meant to ensure fairness, are tipped by the weight of money, illustrating the corrosive impact of corruption on the democratic ideals. The caricature represents a sharp critique of the disparity in power between the average Filipino and the pervasive influence of money in politics, which makes one think critically about how important accountability and transparency are in governance. It also says we really need to change society to make things fair for everyone. It reminds us that when we work together, we can make leaders do the right thing. Finally, it tells us to keep watching and speaking up for good things in our communities and everywhere. It's like saying, hey, let's all stand up for what's right and make our world better together.
The crocodile, money, scale, and Juan Dela Cruz are the symbols that used to represent a caricature about one of the hottest issues in the Philippines, which is the inequity and justice. Inequity and justice in the Philippines has a big impact on marginalized communities, including the poor, indigenous people, and minorities. The systemic nature of inequity in the justice system, stemming from corruption, lack of resources, and biases among law enforcement, judiciary, and legal professionals, reinforces power dynamics that favor the rich or corrupt politicians and disadvantage of being poor or normal citizen will lead to unequal outcomes in terms of arrests, trials, and sentencing. Filipinos facing it nowadays due to the corrupt officials and rich people that can overturn the law. Addressing these underlying issues requires comprehensive reforms aimed at promoting transparency, accountability, and equal access to justice for all citizens.
Hey everyone, my name is Misplaced, and I am the artist of the second caricature entitled Obsessive Screen Time Addiction. So, in this caricature, it shows a picture of how our technologies develop and enhance over time, which can cause us to be distracted, preoccupied, or even cause incidents. As an example. So, with this, it helps us to be distracted with things, but it can also ruin our goals, our future, and even our health. So in this caricature with my members, these 5 elements will be described by them in the next video.
The cliff and the thorns that Juan de la Cruz was about to head to resemble failure in the context of social media addiction. So, failure in this context pertains to the negative consequences when one can effectively manage or control their use of social media. Problems could include spending too much time online and neglecting their health, feeling anxious or stressed when not using social media, or ignoring important tasks and relationships. With this, we have resembled those problems to the objects drawn. Moreover, social media addiction can be identified when social media use starts to interfere with one's daily functioning and well-being, yet they find it difficult to change their own behavior despite recognizing those problems.
The caricature shows that Juan de la Cruz is ignoring a banana peel on the ground. Because he's too busy using his smartphone for social media. It humorously points out how people often focus more on their phones than on what's happening around them. Juan's obsession with his phone represents how technology can distract us and make us less aware of our surroundings. The banana peel symbolizes the potential dangers of this distraction, suggesting that spending too much time on screens can make us miss important things in our environment. Overall, the caricature highlights the issue of spending too much time on digital devices and how it affects our attention.
Like a shadow that passively follow an object, laziness represents a passive state of being. It involves avoiding effort and initiative. Much like a shadow simply mimic the movement of the object casting it. Just as shadow exists in the presence of light, laziness can lurk in our lives when we avoid productivity. Like a shadow that trails behind us, laziness can linger and burden us if we let it. But as a shadow vanishes in light, laziness can be defeated by taking initiative and confronting responsibilities.
As you can see from the caricature, it is a person that is addicted to his phone and slowly walking towards an abyss they'll eventually fall into. When someone gets hooked into their phone, they can't resist checking it all the time. It messes up their daily routine, work, studies, you name it. They always end up distracted, and that seriously hurts of how well they can focus and get stuff done. And it's not just about productivity. They start prioritizing their virtual connections rather than the real ones. And that feels kind of lonely and cut off.
In today's digital age, the ubiquity of smartphones and the fascination of social media have reshaped our daily routines and behaviors, sometimes with unintended consequences. One such effect is a phenomenon known as distracted walking, in which people lose their track of their surrounding because they get distracted with their mobile devices and apps such as Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, games, and YouTube. Social media users can easily become engaged in their virtual connections to the point where they neglect their real world surroundings due to the platform's addictive nature, which is characterized by endless scrolling feeds and continuous notifications. The behavior of Juan Dela Cruz, as depicted in the caricature, illustrate the consequences of mobile phone addiction.
This caricature depicts a person faced with a choice between two paths, one leading to success and the other to laziness and addiction to social media. The individual in the caricature is shown with the burden of success on their back, symbolizing the hard work and effort required to achieve success. However, instead of embracing this path, they are depicted as choosing the easier route of laziness, represented by their addiction to social media. This caricature highlights the societal phenomenon of people prioritizing instant gratification and distraction over long term goals and hard work. It is a commentary on how modern technology and social media can sometimes distract individuals from pursuing their ambitions and responsibilities, leading to a cycle of procrastination and unfulfilled potential.